Sorry, I went to touch Shabbat. They, by the way, know how to do Hallel. Just take notes. I want to have a conversation with you, actually in a somewhat different way than maybe we've had before. If you were here at first, if you were an early bird, you heard me quote this Torah, and I can't get this piece of Torah out of my head. And that was, Torah tchilata gemilut chasadim v'sofa gemilut chasadim. Sorry for starting at the Hebrew, but Torah's beginning is chesed, and its end is chesed. And we spent some time during the service talking about it, right? So chesed means devotion, but really it's a funny word because when we're talking about chesed, we can either mean a kind of religious piety or a care for other people. And it took me a while to figure out this week why that midrash was bouncing around and around in my head, because the truth is we had more to worry about. This month is the month of Adar. Adar is the month of humor and jokes, and this feels like a really bad joke, you know? And I heard from a friend of mine who's a pharmacist. I heard it through her husband, who's a teacher of mine, but we're all very close. And so she's a pharmacist, and people wait in line, and they get their medication from her. And she said, you know, the past few months have been kind of awful. She says, people are so quick to anger and so slow to forgive. And it's not about the big stuff. It's about the little stuff. And God help me, but I understand them. Not just her, but them. Because when you hold so much, where does it show but in the seams? That's where things start to fray. And it feels, on the one hand, like there's so much to worry about. Like, why even care about courtesy in this moment? But somehow I care about it. I want to tell you how grateful I am for Adat Shalom. Because in the slightly more than 6 months that I've been here, it's been only 6 months, almost 7 months, 7 months today, as a matter of fact. We'll see whether you decide, what you think. But I want to tell you that this place, and especially this room, has become a place of spiritual refuge for me. I want to be here. I love being here. I love being with you. It's very easy and simple for me. This place is a place of people who I think have an easy devotion and a great deal of principle. And in the past weeks, one of the things I've noticed is that things are a bit sharper around here than normal. I was talking to Rena a few weeks ago, and I said, Rena, actually I think it was 2 Shabbats ago, and I said, do things feel really fragile to you at Adat Shalom right now? And she said, no, Scott. She said, it's the people who are fragile. Adat Shalom is fine. And it's true. We're in this beautiful position as a community of being fine right now. We are strong. This room is full. Your rabbi is happy. You have to suffer through him. Things are growing. Torah is being taught. Classes are being given. Music is being sung. Conversations are being had. We're good as a community. But as individuals, people are holding so much. And it's so hard. And one of the things I've noticed is an uptick in that kind of fraying at the seams, in which people bite a little bit, and shout a little bit, and make comments a little bit. And you know what I know it's about? It's almost always about nothing. Not nothing, it's like a thing, but it's certainly not the things that keep us up at night. And this is human. I want you, by the way, not to hear for a second that I am here in some way today to yell at you, or to wag my finger, or to say, how dare you not speak with the appropriate courtesy that your rabbi demands of you, because I go home and I can't sleep either. But what I was hoping that we could do is to have a conversation about, even in this time, what it means to wrap Adat Shalom in kindness. Because, like John Donne, I want to make this one room and everywhere. This is the place that I come to feel safe and whole. And there's a piece of this that's like willing to sort of go out in the world and to understand when people are feeling more irritated, more agitated, more upset, but there's something about me that wants this place to be the place of peace, this place to be the place of wholeness. Now, some of you might be saying, by the way, I have no idea what you're talking about. People are fine, people are absolutely nice, and for you, Gegezint, like whatever. And some people are going to say, why are you talking about me, Rabbi? And I'm not. I'm not, right? Because I probably don't remember it. And just so you know, that's not where I'm coming from. What I'm coming from is a sense of wanting to make this the kind of space that you can walk into and to feel like you just know that you're going to be okay here. So I'm going to open it up for some questions. I'm going to open it up for some comments. And by the way, there was a real request, and I think a good one, that there are voices in this room that aren't always heard. And so if you tend to be a voice that is often heard, I do want to encourage you to wait a beat, to let people to just share their thoughts about what it means to just increase the Torah of kindness in a time that is not kind. And by the way, when you speak, please speak with kindness. Because the truth is, it isn't that people, should they not be kind for whatever reason, are doing so because they're bad or mean, or they just need to be talked to or something like that. People are sharper because we have a lot of energy and emotion and we don't know where to put it. And that's a tough place to be. But I would love to hear your thoughts about what it means at Adat Shalom, Tchilata Chesed v'Sofa Chesed, that the beginning and end of this synagogue is kindness. Are you willing? I feel a little vulnerable right now, by the way. You're willing to have this conversation with me? Okay. Yeah. Yes? Sure. Ethel? Please introduce yourself, Ethel. I just introduced you.
I'm Ethel Kessler. A couple weeks ago when we did the big meeting of everybody and had that fabulous brainstorming, amazing, energetic experience. It was extraordinary. I'd never been in anything like that before. And I thought that we as a community were phenomenal. I thought we were phenomenal before, but I didn't know exactly how phenomenal. I still work and I have deadlines, and last Shabbat I couldn't be here. And I made a decision during the week. There will never be a time on a Shabbat that I'm not here. I feel like this is like that being wrapped in goodness. Thank you.
Thank you, Ethel. Oh, bravo. Beautiful.
Next ill-tempered person, please.
Laura, I promise to look in this direction. I know that this is my blind side over here.
I'm probably one of the people that speak, so I'm sorry to come second. But I'm Lauren Beal. You know, something that I've been a member here for 17 years, and in the past couple of years have, as you know, gotten more involved with the staff and with the kind of, you know, machinations of what it is to actually put on an institution like this. And something that I've noticed is how sharp we can sometimes be with our staff and how much they have to bear of, you know, I mean, if you think about being on the receiving end of this entire community and everyone's thoughts and everyone's needs and everyone's copy edits and everyone, I mean, every time you do anything in your job, you've got 400 family units. That's, you know, times X number of people who all have an opinion and a response and a critique, and that's an enormous amount to bear. And so I guess I would ask, as we're thinking about Hesed and as we're thinking about making sure that we continue to engender peace and loving kindness, that we take a beat before we immediately respond or tell someone they missed a word in an email that they sent or that the link doesn't work. Take a beat and just think about the person on the other end of that deluge. So that's what I guess I would ask of us as a community.
Thank you, Laura.
Hi, I'm Steph Braidman. Jen and I joined at the same time that you joined. So, having no idea kind of where the world was going to go at the time we joined, I don't take for granted a second of getting to walk in this space and what it is. And I think, when I walk in and I have started leaving my phone in the car, and that's just in the suggestion that you gave to, like, I don't read Hebrew, but to close the book and to feel. And I try and take a minute when I walk in this space, and I think about the people that don't have community, and that prior to this, I had community, but I'd never had a space like this that every week I knew I got to come to and to feel this like lifting of weight. And so I don't know. I think what I want to do is try and carry that through the months and through the years as we are members here, just to remember like the gratitude of getting to be here. It's a gift.
Thank you, Steph. Thanks, Brian.
Hi, I'm Josh Zimmerberg. I'm definitely one of the people who's coming apart at the seams. And I've been trying to figure out, what's going on. And I don't know, my take maybe somebody else will get something out of it. But my take is that all good relationships on all levels are under attack, big time. And everyone I know and all the vulnerable people I know at work are living in fear. They're just living in fear. And I think it could be that, I'm not at all sure about this, that by having a good relationship yourself, you're putting a target on your back.
Wait. You can't sit down after you just said that. Can you say a few more words about by having a good relationship with yourself, you're putting a target on your back?
Not with yourself.
What?
Good relations are what are under attack,
Yeah.
clearly, at all levels. That's what's being attacked.
Yeah,
Any
so-
good but by exhibiting good I'm
Yeah.
thinking about the Holocaust, actually. The stories from the Holocaust that never made sense to me were not the nice stories, but the ones in which people were not being nice to each other as they were being more and more attacked. And I'm wondering whether some of what you're talking about could relate to natural, if you see what's happening and good relations are under attack, then you don't want to exhibit them.
I hadn't thought about it that way. I do want to say that one of the things that I think is happening is that the objects and ideas of our devotions are being broken in front of us. I was down at USAID on Friday. I was talking to another congregant today who was there as well. And it is very painful to see something you love. Imagine someone taking like a sledgehammer to this table up here. It is incredibly painful to see something that you have spent so much time devoting to. And that doesn't have to be a physical thing. In fact, it's even more powerful what's an intangible ideal. And all of a sudden what you do is you kind of close up ranks a little bit and you try to hold on to the little things. And therefore, when the little things get broken, you get very tense. It's very hard to sort of see the jagged edges at times. And so one of the questions I'm sort of asking is that's real and that's true. And what does a person do with that kind of energy as opposed to sort of foisting it on another person in a moment that you don't mean to? This is a question about our lives. Other comments where there's some over here? Yeah.
I'm probably one of those people who are oblivious, I didn't know there was a problem. So I confess. But I think it's great, obviously, to always talk about kindness, but I think it's also important to understand context. And I think, it's not just that we're all cringing and rubbing our hands and saying, oh, it's terrible. It really is terrible. And the context is, as we speak, there's worries about the press being affected and restrained and everything, which are really real and reminiscent, obviously. And anybody who watched what happened yesterday in the Oval Office, even somebody like myself who thought it's going to be really, really bad, it was like even a little worse.
Yeah.
So I think the context is, if I can speak for what I think is a lot of people, we don't know what to do. We don't know how to fight back. We don't know how to make, what's the right thing to do.
Right.
Obviously, in our individual actions, everyone should try and be kind. My husband opened up a flower shop, and he hired a USAID lawyer who was fired, human rights lawyer. It's just ridiculous.
Right.
Mostly that she'd want to work in a flower shop. But the point is, I think we need leadership. And I turn to you, and I turn to others in the synagogue.
Thanks a lot.
I think it's a reasonable thing for people to want to know, what do we do? How do we fight back? What's the action? How can we work together? And I think if we try to do, again, just speaking, someone who's not aware of everything that's going on, but if we tried to do more to probably help people figure out a way to do that, at least it would give them a means for them to react positively to what's going on.
Thank you very much. Yeah. I think one more comment, and then I'm going to let the people choose so that I don't get blamed afterwards. All right. By the way, I'll be open to talking about this at ONEG as well. Okay.
I'm Lauren Amdursky. I've been a member here for 26 years. In thinking of this, I think, many of you know I am a psychiatrist. So I think about this in the personal way, and I know for myself, I am deeply pained and preoccupied. I'm preoccupied with my own family. I have a daughter who's looking for a job after getting a master's last May and looking in the nonprofit sector, and it's been really difficult for her. I have a son who works for the federal government. Who knows what's going to happen for him? And I, too, am paying some attention to the news, and that's pretty much awful all the time. And so I know that I'm internally preoccupied and anxious. There's a level of anxiety and sort of vibration all the time, no matter what I'm doing. And what I have to do in terms of kindness in my interactions is be very intentional about being kind and careful with not only the people that I care about and love, which is a little bit easier, but with everybody, even the people in my community and the people outside of my community that I don't know. So I have to work at it. And I think that is, it's an extra layer of work. I have to work with that anxiety, my own fears, and I have to say to myself, I have to intentionally be kind because I'm committed to that.
Thanks, Lauren. I really would like to talk to people about this more. And I have to tell you, when I was thinking about today, I actually felt like I was taking a bit of a risk by having this conversation, because it's not talking about things, it's talking about us. And I know that that can both be perceived, even in the best of moments, as antagonistic, or it can go in ways that you didn't necessarily expect. And over years, by the way, people develop all sorts of delightful grudges that we have with each other over things that are only barely remembered from 20 years ago. That's the nature of humanity. And so when I was coming here, the question wasn't primarily, how do I get a group of people to be more kind to each other? Because I think of you as kind people, and I know you to be. It was more, how do I take a group of people who are legitimately under threat and figure out what to do with all of that energy and that angst and that disappointment and that heartbreak so that we can still be together here in a way that lifts our souls up and makes us strong for the work ahead? And my answer was that word that I started with today, which was chesed, right? Which people think of as care and kindness, and we also talked about being piety and devotion. And what I have experienced from you is that unusual for a Jewish community, you are more devoted to this place than on almost any other synagogue I've ever been to. People at a Dat Shalom are often obsessed with a Dat Shalom. Is that a fair thing to say? God bless you for it. No, seriously, it's amazing to have people sort of say that life is a little bit more real for them here than another place. Somebody actually said those words to me, and you can feel it when you walk through the door. This is a place where people are devoted to this institution and what it does. My only concern is that in our devotion to the institution, we may become annoyed at times at the people in it who we see as... I was actually going to say, and for no particular reason, having nothing to do with my stage in the life, the people that we might perceive as writing with marker on the wall. Because they're too young to know otherwise, you know? And maybe their parents should look after them better, but their parents are really trying, and honestly, we're all just trying to figure this out. You know what I mean? That your love for the place, right, makes you see what you perceive to be a transgression of the values of that place like that. And thus, by the way, it's sometimes that conversations within spiritual communities or communities of worship or places that are relatively small become actually more intense and sometimes much more difficult than conversations on the outside about smaller things. It's a bigger deal. And so the Torah that I want to teach today is a Torah of devotion. And all I want us to remind you to do is, as you are as devoted to this place and its ideals and their good ideals, I only ask you to remind yourselves also when you walk through the door to be devoted to the people in it. And I think that's it. I think it's not about forcing yourself to be more kind, being more on your guard, more reserved, more vigilant about people's action. I just ask you to see that this place is the people in it. And so when you come through the door, that your chesed, your devotion, it belongs to them. There are so many gifts that you have to give people. People who had horrible weeks, people who had amazing weeks, people who just need the hug, people who just need the kind glance and the place to be. Have you ever walked into a place and felt like it was sort of inimical to you, that the vibe was off and you just felt uncomfortable there? Have you ever walked into a place and felt welcomed? Do you know how much you have to give to people here simply by being here? And one last thing I wish to teach, not from the Torah, not from the Gemara and from the Talmud that I taught earlier, about the beginning of this place being chesed and the end of this place being chesed, though that's what's in my heart today. It's one more, and I just haven't heard this Torah in the world recently, and I'm sure I understand why, but it's also a bit of a surprise to me that I haven't heard this Torah in the world recently, is forgive. Forgive them. People are nuts right now. People are losing their jobs and they're crazy and they, for some reason, watched the news last night. Forgive them. We're all on edge. You know what the Talmud says about forgiveness? If you forgive people, amamvir al midotav, which is a difficult phrase to translate, but if you forgive people for sort of dissing you, you'll be forgiven for every wrongdoing you've ever done. Amamvir al midotav, ma'aviron kol b'sha'av. If you have a forgiving nature, you'll be forgiven. Hama'avir al midotav, ma'avirin lo al kol pisha'av. The person who is forgiving about sort of offenses against their own self, I don't mean like legal offenses, I just mean like the little ones. Ma'avirin lo kol pisha'av, they get forgiven for all the wrongdoings that they've done. Let this place be a place of devotion and forgiveness. We need it. I love you. Shabbat shalom. Big book. We continue with the Torah reading.